I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Everdell Emerland from Tycoon Games. Everdell Emerland is a 1-to-4 player tableau building game based on the popular Everdell line of games. Before we get into it further, this is a prototype, all rules and components have to change, and I'll have a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below. I'll also say that this is a review specifically of Everdell Emerland. There's been a lot of Everdell, and I am a huge fan of Everdell. I love Everdell. I have all of the Everdell, so, well, if you count the big box games, I have Everdell the Complete Collection, I have Everdell Farshore, I have Everdell Silverfrost. I always mix up Spirecrest and Silverfrost, but that's a different story. I have all of the Everdell stuff, and I love Everdell. I am going to be reviewing today Everdell Emerland, how it stands on its own. Separately from this, I will be doing a video on not just Everdell fatigue, but whenever you have games that kind of do this thing, whether it's Zombicide, whether it's Everdell, whatever the game system is, sometimes games put out too many of the same thing, which can lessen my excitement for that thing in the greater picture of all of them, while still respecting what this game is on its own, because I think Everdell Emerald is great. I'll cover this more in final thoughts. I'll be going through the review soon. I'll cover the differences, how I feel with them, but overall, I think Everdell Emerald is an absolute great game that is a great addition to the Everdell universe, and also I'm just less excited by small variations on a great system. So we'll cover this more in final thoughts, but let's start off with that. Let's talk about Everdell Emerald in its own right. So, what is Everdell? Everdell Emerald specifically, is a worker placement tableau building game. You're going to be playing across 4 seasons. You're going to start off in summer, then you're going to head to fall, winter, and spring. Players are going to be moving into seasons at their own pace, so a player can move one at a time into its own season, and when you do so, you unlock extra workers, so you get more things that you can do each round. You start off being able to do a little bit, then a little bit more, then a little bit more, and then the most in that final round that feels like you get so much done on those last turns. Along the way, you're placing cards into your tableau. You're going to start with a hand of cards, but there are also cards in the meadow over here, and you can take these cards and place them, building them, putting them into your own tableau. So for example, if I have the resources shown, I can pay those resources back to the bank, take the Treetop Bazaar, and put it down into my own tableau where I can benefit from that card. There are 6 kinds of cards in the game. There's going to be these instant cards, they happen right away when you build them. The green cards are going to be cards that happen when you build them, and then also when you enter into fall and when you enter spring, they will activate again, as you can see over here. There are blue cards that augment your actions, letting you do things when you do other things. When you build a construction, you can discard a card to pay 1 less, things like that. You get extra abilities as you do other stuff in the game. Then there's going to be these red cards. These are worker placement spots. They allow you and others to go to them to activate those in each of those seasons. Then you have purple cards, which are scoring cards. These cards are going to give you points, usually a larger number of base points at a higher cost, and then even more points if you fulfill a specific objective. And lastly, the new card type are going to be the artisans. Artisans allow you to tuck cards from your hand underneath them in order to activate them, but you have a limited number of tucks in the game. Those are the 6 cards you're going to be building your tableau around. Along the rest of this, you're going to be placing your workers into all of these various zones around the edge of the board. These are going to give you various ways to get resources. You have the 4 core resources on this side over here, but then you also have the extra resources, things like, for example, you have harps, which will allow you to place these onto cards to play other cards for free. You're going to have the emeralds over here, which are a key resource in terms of upgrading cards, a new feature to Everdell Emerald, as well as getting realms, which are going to be these, which effectively replace the objectives from the base game, as well as getting the harps, and then some other cards will require them as a cost as well. So you're kind of playing this worker placement tableau building game, like I said at the beginning. You're trying to balance all these things as you place your workers out, get resources, use those resources to pay for cards. Those cards continue to increase your engine either through points or getting more resources to help you build out. Then you're going to be upgrading cards. Upgrading cards allows you to flip a card to its reverse side. This Treetop Bazaar can be flipped when you take this action over here, and that action is going to allow you to get a stronger location, and also you're going to even activate again for free the turn you flip it. If you have a worker on it, when you flip it, you're going to get a free activation out of it. Then you have these realms. These are scoring cards that give you points for different types of things. 1 point per critter, 2 points per green card, 2 points per harps on cards. You're going to get points for various things at the end of the game for for your realms. Additionally, you have a limit of 12 cards in your own personal meadow, and that means that you can add more cards. With each realm, you can play one more card. So if you get 3 realms, you can play 15 cards. This is a change from base Everdell that allows you to have 15 cards to start with. Here you start with 12, and you can work your way up. Players will generally get, I'd say, between 13 to 15 cards into their meadows through the use of realms. You also have a new track over here. This track effectively allows players to discard cards and resources to move up the track, getting point tokens, getting stacks of point tokens, but there are less stacks than there are players, and then also drawing artifacts from these bags depending on the number of cards you discard. So if you discard 3 cards, you can draw 3 artifacts in the bag, and then you can pick whichever one you think is best. And I say think is best because sometimes they have points, well they always have points, but they also have abilities. Would you rather have 4 points, or would you rather have 2 points and you can trade a resource into 2 other resources? You pick one of those and add it, and as you move up the track, you get more of those, and then at the very end, you get points for whoever is here first, or well, first, second, and third in turn order gets more points. That's basically what's happening in Everdell. There's a lot of small nuances here. If you are used to Everdell, this is all going to be very familiar. If you want to see more of the intricacies here, you can check out our gameplay on this, which I don't know if it's up already or going up. There'll be a gameplay on the channel for Everdell Emerland. You can check that out if you want to see all of this in motion. But effectively, it is Everdell with some changes. To that end, I'm going to talk about the changes and how I feel about those changes, but I'll start with my basic opinion of Everdell. Everdell regular, not Emerland. Everdell as a series is a game system that I love, and it's a game system I didn't love at first. When I first played original Everdell, I played it once, maybe twice, and then I got rid of it because I thought it was fine, but I wasn't as in love with it as people seem to be. But I had second thoughts about it, and I got it back because people seem to really be in love with it. I love the art, I wanted to like it, and the more I played it, the more I loved it. It's a game that can feel incredibly tight at first as you struggle to get anything done in that first round, but then as you continually play out across the 4 rounds, especially with the limit of cards that you have, you're trying to work to try to configure out the synergies between the cards that you get. You're constantly drawing cards into your hands, finding ways to discard those cards to activate various things, whether in this case, in Everdell Emerland, you're discarding them often to move up on the adventure track over here. Alternatively, you're discarding them to power up artisans. Various other things will allow you to do so. You're trying to find ways to use the cards and find those synergies as you build towards a great tableau at the end of the game that is going to score more points than all the other players. It's incredibly satisfying, rewarding. It feels like you're trying to make every resource count in a way that doesn't feel so tight as to be punishing, but feels tight enough to be satisfying when you manage to work your way towards those chunks of points. That's a basic way I feel about all of the Everdell games. All of them have their own tweaks to them. Everdell has tons of expansions, giving you a lot of variation to it. Everdell Farshore has a little boat track and changes, giving you a new thing you're working with. There's this moving boat around the board. Also some small other changes. Silverfrost allows you to deal with snow falling onto your locations and clearing that out, as well as a new way to go to locations that you couldn't otherwise go to, something that Emerland does as well. Usually in base Everdells, you just can't go somewhere once someone takes a spot. Silverfrost and Emerland give you ways to go those places, which is a nice way out of a hard situation, but at a cost when you do so. And now Emerald does this with upgraded cards, possibly the biggest single change I've seen in Everdell. Like, I think when I think of the Everdell line of games, I think Everdell Emerald does feel like if Farshore and Silverfrost are 1 step removed from Everdell, I think Emerald is 2 steps removed through the sheer amount of extra small stuff that's going on. I think the upgraded cards are a big deal. Adding a new card and upgrading cards and changing the way all of these locations work, because now you have helpers, but you also have you have the regular workers, and you have assistants. You have these helpers over here that can go out to the location. So for example, if I take one of these over here and I go here with an assistant, I can double what I get from a green location. These locations cannot be doubled, green locations can. The assistants on their own, the helpers can go to brown locations to activate those, and you can also use them to go somewhere where someone else is, using a helper to go to a location that someone else is already present in. So there's a lot of small little changes here that make this possibly maybe a step and a half removed from Everdell compared to the other ones. So overall, that's kind of my general feelings of Everdell. And Everdell for me is a 5 out of 5 game. I love all of the Everdells. I always have fun when I play them. They are excellent experiences. Emerald adds a bunch of new things. Let's talk about how I feel about those things. Let's start with the best one by far, the upgraded cards. All of these cards can be upgraded, and they all do slightly different things when they do. The one-time use cards over here, the Travelers, when you upgrade them, you get the better side, and you reactivate it. So you get 2 effects out of the same card. The green cards, when you activate it, again, it's going to produce again, and if you upgrade it or if you upgrade it early on in the game, you can possibly get multiple upgraded uses out of it. The blue cards, they're always ongoing, so as soon as you upgrade upgrade it, you simply get a better ability out of that upgraded card. You almost always get more points as well, by the way. The red cards, when you upgrade them, you get to have a better location, and if you have a worker on it, you get to activate it for free, which feels incredibly powerful. I would say the red cards are probably some of my favorite cards to upgrade because it feels like you're getting like a full, powerful extra activation out of it. Although honestly, same with the Travelers, but you know, I like all of them. The purple cards are endgame points. They often allow you to get more points, but also lower the restriction. This one gives us 3 points if we have 4 upgraded critters. But on the other side, it's 5 points if we have 3 upgraded critters. So it's not just more points, but it makes the ability easier, which sometimes you'll need and sometimes you won't. And then the artisans over here feel like they got the they feel like they got shafted on the upgrading. It's one of the few things. I love the upgrading concept. I love how it changes up the game, but I don't love that artisans feel a little less powerful. The reason I say that is artisans will give you more points when you upgrade them. They give you more things when you tuck cards, but they don't reactivate. These cards all reactivate when you upgrade them, and these cards kind of don't make a difference because they just keep working. This one keeps giving you a new ability, and this one gives you endgame points. It doesn't really matter until the very end. Artisans, on the other hand, if you've tucked cards under artisans already, you don't get anything new out of it, and you can't tuck more cards. I almost wish, even if it just allowed you to tuck 1 extra card, that might change things. I don't know. But right now, artisans currently, you're almost incentivized to not tuck anything until you have upgraded. And sometimes you will tuck things because you need to, but that small aspect. So I like all the upgraded cards. I like the card system. I like the new cards. I love the artisans as a card type. I just feel like the artisans got shafted a bit on the upgrade mechanic and the way that plays out. Which, again, I work around. I still have fun with it, but that's a small little note. So I love the upgraded cards overall with that small note about artisans. The realms. I like the realms. I like the slight shift from objectives. This does feel a bit more similar to Silverfrost if you've played that. There's a lot more abilities kind of flowing through. Not abilities, objectives flowing through the game as opposed to having a few set up like there are in base Everdell as well as Farshore. So I like the realms, in fact, the way they flow through, so you have more of them, more variety. I also like the way they let you build another card. It gives an extra level of importance to them. You could ignore them, but then you're only going to have a 12-card tableau. If you want to build out to a 14-card tableau, you better start thinking about how you're going to synergize those with the realms. So I like the realms. It's a small quality of life difference. I have no problem with how it works in any of the other Everdell games, but I do like the realms. The new locations, I'm kind of mixed on the way it works with helpers and workers. I do like the workers system. I like the helper system. I like the doubling of resources. I do think this is one of those tricky things where I almost have to go back and play base Everdell or any of the previous ones again to see how much I enjoy this. I do like the helpers and the new helper concept. I think it's a nice way to be able to give incremental abilities, new location types. It's nice. Do I feel it's amazingly better than the original games? No, but I do like the system. I think it's a nice tweak that makes it feel different without making it feeling overpoweringly different. This small critique I have there is you have different rules around how each location works. So for example, helpers can go to the brown locations. Helpers can go to brown locations even if there's not a helper there. You can go to a location like this and just activate it. You can go to a location like this and double the effects. You can also go to a location like this right now and activate it even though there's a person there because you used a helper. Or you can spend 2 helpers and you can activate it while there's a person there and double the effects. You can also go to over here to one of these locations, but you can only go to this location once. You can't go there again, contrasted where if I went over here, I can spend a helper to go to a location I've already gone. Whereas these are 1 time per player per round. You can't really have another worker there. You have to pull it back. You can only have one of your people there at a time. You also can't double the benefits of these because you can only use a helper to go where someone else is, not doubling. So for example, I can go over here, but I can never spend a helper on its own to double the benefits of those locations. None of this is overly confusing, but it is a little bit information overload when you're first diving into it. I think if you already know Everdell, it's one extra small set of rules on a game system you're already familiar with. If you don't know Everdell, it can be a little much to manage over there. So it's not really, I like the new locations with the mindfulness that there's the slight extra rules to deal with. I don't like this new board over here, or at least I don't like the way it works. This, by the way, I should note, is the flat cardboard edition. There is a 3D edition as well, but this is going to have you discarding cards, moving up the track, which that part is all fine. It feels like almost like Temple Track inspired from Lost Ruins of Arnak, if you've played that. Like this little rush to move up to get the points, to get the benefits, and to get these tokens over here. And these tokens over here, they're fun. I think my biggest challenge with these is that these are inherently unbalanced, and that's intentional, meaning there's a 7-pointer in here. There's also a 1-pointer plus an emerald. I'd rather have 7 points every single time. There's only 1 7-pointer in the entire bag. So the types of tokens you get from here are specifically different in how good they are, and that's because that incentivizes you to discard more cards to have more choice when you're picking tokens. So that part, that concept, of forcing the players to examine how many cards they want to discard to kind of push your luck into the bag, it's essential that they are unbalanced. If they are all balanced, just discard one card, and whatever you get, you make do with how that works. So I understand the nature of the imbalance of the tokens in the bag. It still feels like players are going to get completely different things out of this. In a game that's very, very much about how well you can work with the board and the known information, this feels like a grab bag of chance and opportunity that I don't really dislike it. Again, I don't play games for like I have to win every time. I don't do that, but it certainly is a factor when you're playing a game like this and there's this wild card of do you get 1 point or 7 points? Again, there's only 1 7, but someone's going to get that 7. And in a game with multiple competent players, that can be the difference between who wins and who loses. So the temple track concept, I don't mind. I wish it gave you different things. I wish the temple track gave you points and abilities and other reasons to move up this temple track. I keep calling it the temple track because of Lost Tunes of Arnak, but moving up the track, moving up the excavation track, I wish it gave you other things and that this mechanic wasn't as present. I don't super dislike it, but I don't love it either, and I think there are cooler things you can do with the track than what they did over here. So that's kind of the one thing that I kind of don't like, and again, minimally, not hugely so, but I minimally don't like within the game. The last change, I'd say, and again, there's small nuance changes, but the last bigger change would be the way you get free critters in the game. Everdell has always given you a way to get free critters, to have things that you're like, oh, look at this. This critter costs 3 berries. I get to play it for free because of something. That something has changed game to game. In base Everdell, it's matching cards to their matching construction, which can feel incredibly cool, but as you add more and more expansions and things like that, it gets a little harder to make it all work, but it is an incredibly cool feeling and system. Future Everdells allowed you to do so with tokens that had matching construction types. This one allows you to do so with harps. Specifically, when you have an upgraded construction. So if this card over here is an upgraded construction in my tableau, and I have a harp, I can place the harp onto the construction in order to play any critter, not just a matching one, for free. But I can only do that once per type of upgraded construction. So if I have another blue upgraded construction, I can't do it. I can do it if I have another red upgraded construction. So once per color of construction and upgraded, I can place a harp onto it. You also have to have the harps in order to play a critter for free. The net result is you may well be able to play 2, 3 cards easily for free throughout the course of the game. If you're really working it, you might be able to get all 6, but I don't think I've seen that happen yet. I think the most I've seen so far is 5, and even that felt like an accomplishment. But you can get some free cards played into your board with that system. It's the same concept that Everdell has always had. It just comes with a different tweak to it. Those are my kind of thoughts on overall the changes from Everdell Emerland. My overall thoughts, let's go to final thoughts now on Everdell Emerland. Rating-wise, I can't not give this a 5 out of 5. And I will grant that I sound less excited than I might be when I'm like, oh my gosh, a 5 out of 5. Like I don't give a lot of 5 out of 5s. If I'm thinking of new games, forget things like this where it's kind of a follow-up. New games, I think I've only given 3 this year, if I'm not mistaken, like 3. In the entire 2020, I review a lot of games. In 2025, I believe I've given 3 5 out of 5s to new games. I also have given 1 or 2, like Cascadia Alpine Lakes got a 5 out of 5. That's a follow-up to a game system I love. That one felt meaningfully different, so even that one I was more excited about. Everdell Emerland is a 5 out of 5 to me. But it's also a 5 out of 5 like DC United was a 5 out of 5 to me. A game that continues to be good at a system that I love, while not necessarily adding a ton of new things to that system. I know I enjoy Everdell Emerland. I really like this game. To me, the question, though, is always going to be, which Everdells do I keep? Getting Everdell Emerland means I'm not going to have another one. For me right now, I think the one I'm going to not have is probably Silverfrost, and that's because Silverfrost has a mechanic that has you trying to remove obstacles from your locations, even though you get points for that. I find that it feels like tedious, busy work in the game. Everything else I think is great. There's so many great things about Silverfrost that I really like, but I think that when I'm trying to weigh up which Everdells to keep, I think honestly, even right now, even with base Everdell, which is a complete collection, Everdell Farshore, and Everdell Emerland, that's still 3 Everdells, which feels like 1 Everdell too many. So I'm faced with the same kind of challenge I've had when I've had a new Zombicide. I really like this game. If this is your first Everdell, I think you will love this game because I think Everdell is a great system. It's not a guarantee. We all have different tastes, but Everdell is a well-liked system, and this is a good entry into that system. But it's also another Everdell. So it is a 5 out of 5, but I'm less excited about that 5 out of 5 because it's me saying, hey, they've made tweaks to the system yet again, and I do like those tweaks yet again, but I'm not blown away by those tweaks yet again. So it's a new Everdell for you to dip your feet into with great art, great production, good tweaks, but it's more Everdell. As far as other game recommendations, if you like Everdell Emerland, definitely check out any of the other flavors of Everdell. I think they're all fantastic. If you want something a little different though, check out either Evenfall for another fantastic card tableau building game, or alternatively check out Lost Winds of Arnak if you want the flavor of what this game is adding to the Everdell universe, but in a very different worker placement game. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this review helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.